Once again, after working late into the night, I stumbled upon my sister's moments on social media while at the subway station. What does it matter if I can't find a job? I am still young, and I should embrace the madness. The screenshot revealed a transfer of 300,000 from our parents, accompanied by a message on WeChat. Darling, there will be plenty of time to work in the future. For now, seize your youth and explore the world. I gazed at the screen for an extended period, suddenly overwhelmed by a sensation akin to drowning, leaving me breathless. Consequently, I exited the subway station and sent a message to Jiang Lin. I am willing to accompany you abroad. 1. As I stumbled upon Lin Mo's moments on social media, my recently departed work companion bid me farewell, Xiao Xiao. My parents say that this wretched job will one day lead to my untimely demise, so they insisted I return home to become a full-time daughter. Her visage radiated a blissful smile, reminiscent of the happiness portrayed in Lin Mo's posts. But what about you? Being a local, why the relentless hustle? Perhaps you should take it easy. I stared blankly at Lin Mo's social media, rendered speechless by my companion's inquiry. Upon graduating university, my field had already begun its decline. I was, much like Lin Mo now, toiling from dawn till dusk, yet struggled to secure a job. During that time, the atmosphere at home was heavy with despondency. My father continuously puffed on cigarettes, his gaze towards me laden with disappointment. My mother would often rush into my room at midnight, tears in her eyes, lamenting about our financial struggles and debts, suggesting I consider factory work for a meager salary of 3,000. I believed their tears, convinced I had no other option. Thus, even through bouts of depression from overworking, I persevered. Yet, it became evident that they were not incapable of being a sanctuary for their child. When my younger sister faced a predicament similar to mine, they unhesitatingly presented her with 300,000 to travel abroad. The announcement of the last subway train echoed through the empty waiting hall. I did not board the train home. Instead, I followed a handful of others out of the subway station. Ironically, just as I scanned a shared bicycle, Lin Mo's message arrived. Sister, I want a bowl of Wang A Po's bubble wontons. Could you bring one back for me? I inhaled deeply and, with a stoic expression, replied, You have more than enough money. Why must I, someone earning a pittance, purchase wontons for you? Lin Mo remained silent for an extended moment. I smirked derisively, though my eyes burned with unshed tears. Throughout my life, my parents had always told me that Lin Mo was my sibling, my closest ally in this world. They urged me to protect and cherish her. Yet, whenever Lin Mo faced hardship, I was invariably the one to suffer. Just as now, my mother's number appeared on my phone screen. Her opening line was always a deep sigh, followed by the insincerity of a mother attempting to maintain equilibrium. Xiao Xiao, have you quarreled with your sister? Your sister just locked herself in her room without finishing her fruit. How about you bring back 2 bowls of wontons when you return? I'll pay. I endured the mounting frustration until I could no longer contain it. Mom, do you truly believe this is merely about a bowl of wontons? Is it amusing to feign ignorance like this? Mere seconds of silence on the other end were abruptly shattered by my father's irate voice. Lin Xiao, is there something wrong with your mind? It's late at night, and all we're asking is for you to bring back a bowl of wontons. Yet you insist on complicating matters. Your mother mentioned how you always clamored for Wang A Po's wontons as a child. Your sister merely wished to surprise you. Exhausted, I leaned against a shared bicycle, tears finally streaming down my face, my voice choked with emotion. Yes, I wanted them as a child, but do you remember what happened after I insisted on having them? 2. Wang A Po's wonton stall has been operating beneath my apartment for decades. A large bowl containing 25 wontons used to cost 7 yuan. Every mealtime, the tantalizing aroma of wontons wafted through the air, filling our living room. I would cling to the railing, inhaling that delightful scent, swallowing hard in anticipation. Later, I tentatively asked my mother if I could have a bowl of wontons if I ranked first in my final exams. She smiled and agreed. However, when I proudly presented my perfect exam paper, my father abruptly lashed out at me with a belt, declaring that I was foolish for wanting to indulge while our family struggled financially. My insatiable appetite would surely lead me to a life of begging. I cried out for my mother, but she entered the room cradling my sister. After that day, I developed a profound aversion to wontons. Even when my family made them, I would feign a diet to avoid even a single wonton. Yet now, my parents insist that wontons are my favorite food. As I recounted my grievances through tears over the phone, I exclaimed, "It's Lin Mo who loves Jiang APS wontons." The moment she expresses a desire for them, you would rush out in the middle of the night to get them for her. What about me? You're concerned for Lin Mo, knowing she'll have to work for many years, and you lavishly send her on trips. What about my needs? I'm exhausted from work too. I rush home on the last subway train every day, and I long to resign for a break. But what do you say? You claim the family cannot support me, that I must strive to be independent. Lin Mo, Lin Mo, Lin Mo. She your precious daughter. Shielded from any distress, I meant to suffer in silence. I vented uncontrollably for a considerable time, only to realize that the other end of the line had fallen silent. After a prolonged pause, I slowly lowered my phone from my ear. The screen was pitch black. They had already hung up. My grievances dissipated into the evening breeze, scattering as effortlessly as my tears, which had gone unnoticed. I wiped my eyes, unlocked my phone, and hesitantly typed a message. My superior replied promptly, "Lin Xiao, you will not regret your decision today." That evening, I booked a room at the finest hotel in the city, paying for a month's rent up front. It was an extravagant expense, unlike any I had ever undertaken. However, this time, devoid of the usual anxiety and guilt associated with spending, I calmly signed the bill. As expected, my phone remained silent throughout the night. No one at home seemed to care about my absence. The following morning at 6, I returned home to pack my belongings. Upon opening the door, I was greeted by a disheveled living room. Familiar takeout containers cluttered the table, and the wonton soup had soured and turned murky overnight. I could vividly envision my parents descending to buy that bowl of wontons, their cheerful expressions as they carried it home to delight Lin Mo. I scoffed derisively, heading straight to my room to gather my things. As I dragged my suitcase out, Lin Mo stumbled out of her room, yawning. Instinctively, I hid my suitcase behind me, but she merely groaned sleepily and turned her gaze towards the living room. After a brief moment, her voice rose in indignation. "Sister, aren't you being a bit excessive? You didn't even make breakfast. Was it such a monumental task to bring back a bowl of wontons? Must you throw a tantrum over it?" I stood at the door, impassively observing her flushed face, remaining silent. Gradually, her gaze began to waver, and her fingers nervously fidgeted with her nightgown, a telltale sign of her guilt. There had been times when our parents favored her, and as the beneficiary, Lin Mo was not oblivious to it. Initially, when I displayed my sadness, she would anxiously use her saved pocket money to buy me gifts. However, as she grew accustomed to this favoritism, she began to believe that my role as her older sister inherently obliged me to yield to her whims. Just like now, she defiantly met my gaze. "The money Mom and Dad give me is barely equivalent to your annual salary. Why must you escalate this to such an extent? I'm your sister, and you're quibbling over something so trivial. Are you still even my sister?" As she spoke, her eyes brimmed with unshed tears. Leaning against the doorframe, I calmly regarded her. "Lin Mo, am I inherently obligated to cater to your every whim simply because I am your sister?" Lin Mo looked at me, on the verge of tears, yet I was too weary to say more, intending to continue dragging my suitcase out. At this moment, the door to the master bedroom swung open, and heavy footsteps resonated through the air. "What are you arguing about so early in the morning?" Lin Mo, as if finally finding a pillar of support, burst into tears. "Dad, sister is being too much. She was sarcastic last night, and now she won't let me be this morning. Is it just because you gave me travel funds? Why is she treating me like this?" Her sobs were genuine, as if she had suffered a great injustice. I furrowed my brows, about to speak, when suddenly a resounding slap struck my face. "Lin Xiao, are you done yet? I tolerated you last night. I asked you to bring a bowl of wontons, and you have so many complaints. The money I earn is mine to give as I please. Why do you need to react so strongly?" The force of the slap turned my head, the sting radiating across my face, leaving me momentarily dazed. My mother stepped forward, grasping my father's arm, her tone exasperated yet striving for balance. "Why are you hitting the child? And you, Lin Xiao, we are all family. Why must you be so calculative?" Lin Mo's cries softened as she stood beside me, disdainfully pouting. "Exactly." I licked my numbed cheek with my tongue, standing still as this united trio cast their disappointed and angry gazes upon me, as if I had committed some heinous crime. Was it truly wrong to mind their blatant favoritism? In a daze, I suddenly recalled that this scene had played out before. It was during a time when the living expenses they provided were unjust. When I attended university, my parents allocated me a mere 1,000 yuan a month, and even that required me to awkwardly plead for it, only to be chastised as a wasteful daughter. Eventually, I learned to be self-sufficient, taking on part-time work off-campus. Never again asking them for money. They seemed to take the hint, no longer inquiring if I needed living expenses. I had always believed it was due to financial constraints, until Lin Mo, during her university years, accidentally revealed that her monthly allowance was 3,000 yuan. That day, a monumental battle erupted at home.
Lin Mo cried incessantly.
And I too wept uncontrollably. Yet, I forgot that my sister's tears were precious. They would elicit my mother's affectionate embrace, granting her anything she desired. My tears, however, would only result in scorn and slaps, followed by my mother's red-eyed inquiries about when I would become sensible. My father, just as he did today, struck me and asked if I wanted to tear the family apart to be satisfied. Such words weighed heavily, and their disappointed gazes rendered me speechless. That incident was swallowed down amidst my tears, yet the wound remained wide open. This time, the 30,000 yuan pricked it, causing it to bleed profusely, leaving me in agony. When I regained my senses, the corridor was deserted. They had taken the sobbing Lin Mo away, leaving me standing alone, comically absurd. I stiffly turned to glance back at the room I had inhabited for 28 years before closing the door behind me, never looking back again. More than half a month later, my account received 2 transfers. One was from Lin Mo, who sent me 5,000 yuan, and the other from my mother, who also sent 5,000 yuan. I stared blankly at the 2 messages, a nauseating feeling stirring in my heart and stomach. In the next instant, Lin Mo called. Her tone was cheerful, as if nothing had transpired. "Sister, did you receive the money? I discussed it with Mom. We thought sending you some money would cheer you up. Now we both have money, so you can't stay mad at me anymore. And you, at your age, actually learned to run away from home. Dad has been furious these past few days." I coldly interrupted Lin Mo's incessant chatter. "What do you actually want by calling me?" I understood Lin Mo's nature. She would not ascend the sacred throne without a purpose. If she had no requests, she would never lower herself first. Sure enough, there was a brief pause on the other end before Lin Mo's voice emerged again, mumbling, "Sister, could you help me organize the visa documents? You used to travel abroad for work, so you should know how." I lowered my head, operating my phone to return both transfers.
"I've sent the money back."
"Lin Mo, you need to handle your own affairs." Lin Mo probably did not anticipate my prompt and merciless refusal, and her voice escalated. "Lin Xiao, I've already lowered myself. Must you be so stubborn? If you don't want help, I can spend a bit more money and still manage the visa." She angrily hung up the phone. I continued my work, indifferent to the exchange. However, I did not expect my mother to bring Lin Mo to my office. Lin Mo shot me a glance before coldly averting her gaze. My mother glanced at me helplessly and said, Xiao, when are you coming home? You've made a fuss for more than half a month. Isn't that enough?" I remained silent. Lin Mo, with her usual sarcasm, retorted, "Tc. She must be having too much fun outside to care about home." My mother gently patted Lin Mo's hand. "What are you blabbering about?
Your sister is not like that."
She turned to me, "Right, Xiao?" I glanced at the dark circles under my mother's eyes and suddenly smiled.
"Mom,
has it been exhausting to wake up early every morning to make breakfast for the past half-month?" My mother's face flushed, awkwardly smiling. My father sometimes had to leave for work at 6 in the morning, so someone had to rise by 5 to prepare breakfast. Since the day I graduated from university, this task had fallen to me. They claimed that since I was working and considered independent, they would not charge me rent, and it was my duty to contribute in any way I could. Thus, I had been working late into the night, returning home at dawn, rising at 5 or 6 to cook breakfast. On weekends, I was also responsible for cleaning the house. I had lived this way for 5 years. Meanwhile, Lin Mo, after her graduation, also lived at home but could sleep in at any hour. Their visit to me now was merely because there was suddenly no one to do the chores at home. Lin Mo grew impatient, kicking the table leg. "Mom, what are you talking to her for? She clearly wants to stir up trouble. If she is so capable, she should never come back home." My mother sighed, looking at me disapprovingly. Xiao Xiao, weren't you always the sensible one? We are all family. Must everything be counted so meticulously? Yes. Sometimes Dad and I may favor your sister a bit, but she is younger. Shouldn't he, the older one, give way to the younger? Didn't he you also say that as an elder sister, you would love your younger sister unconditionally? I turned to Lin Mo, who was fighting back tears, pouting and calling me sister. Whenever she had angered me, she would always use this act to soften my heart. I forgave her for switching rooms while I was away in high school. I forgave her for her subtle attempts to flaunt her allowance in front of me. I also forgave her for taking my hard work for granted time and time again. But every relationship has its limits. Even the deepest affection can be worn thin by a series of despicable acts. Just like now, as I looked at Lin Mo, I no longer felt the pride and comfort of an elder sister, but rather the cold detachment one reserves for a stranger. The day before my departure abroad, Mr. Zhang asked if I wanted to take a day off to return home and spend quality time with my parents. After considering it, I intended to decline. But he spoke first. You are to accompany me to Southeast Asia for no less than 5 years. During this period, your return will be exceedingly difficult. It would be wise to visit home and avoid future regrets. I lingered beneath the company's building for a considerable time before ultimately deciding to return to my hotel. As I stepped into the lobby, a figure suddenly charged towards me. Before I could comprehend the situation, a flurry of slaps landed upon my head and face. Lin Xiao, do you have no shame? If it weren't for my colleague claiming to see you at the hotel, I would have remained oblivious to your sordid escapades. I wondered why you suddenly seemed so obsessed with money. It appears you are so financially desperate that you have resorted to selling yourself. I screamed, clawing at the hands that were viciously tugging at my hair. What are you saying? I haven't done anything. Yet those hands clutched my hair like iron pincers. As my father's furious slaps rained down upon me without pause, my mother and Lin Mo stood nearby, wearing masks. When our eyes met, both averted their gazes in unison, as if they had encountered something unspeakably vile. The surrounding crowd had gathered, and I heard someone murmur, "What is happening? Is someone caught in the act?"
No.
It seems this woman has been engaging in unsavory conduct and has been caught by her father. A chill coursed through me, and suddenly a surge of strength erupted within. I forcefully drove my knee into my father's abdomen. He recoiled in pain but was ready to seize me again, his eyes ablaze with fury. I stumbled behind the security personnel, brandishing my phone and declaring loudly, "Don't come any closer. I will call the police." My father, fists clenched like large pots, bellowed, "You dare call the police? After your disgraceful actions, you still have the audacity to report me? Do you have any idea how much ridicule I have faced at work because of you? They laugh at me for not raising my daughter properly. For raising one who cavorts with men." My masked mother approached, letting out a sigh. "Xiao Xiao, how can you do this to your sister?" I trembled uncontrollably, hastily dialing the police, my voice loud and clear. "Hello, I need to report a crime. Yes, someone is spreading false rumors about my engaging in prostitution." After hanging up, I attempted to straighten my disheveled clothes and hair. Despite the stinging pain on my face and the tears streaming uncontrollably, I stood tall, casting my gaze over every onlooker, ultimately resting it on my so-called family. I do not know who is spreading these rumors about me, but I swear I have never engaged in any vile conduct. The crowd whispered among themselves. "She's calling police. How bold. There must be a misunderstanding." Indeed, and such matters would be easily clarified through surveillance. My father exploded with rage. "You dare to argue? My colleagues have seen you embracing men at the hotel in the dead of night." The last shred of hope shattered, and the icy grip of despair overwhelmed my fear and pain. I shot my head up, summoning every ounce of strength to shout back at him. "If you trust your colleagues so much, would you follow their command to eat excrement?" I took a staggering step forward, locking my gaze onto his face, my voice trembling with unrestrained fury. "If they told you to die, would you do that too?" A profound silence ensued. My father appeared momentarily choked by my unprecedented defiance, his rage frozen in disbelief. My mother gasped, instinctively moving forward. "Xiao Xiao, how can you speak to your father like that?" "How should I speak?" I whirled around to face her.
Mom.
"Why didn't you speak up when he was hitting me? Why didn't you say anything when they were maligning me with slander? Now that I have merely posed a question, you can't tolerate it?" At that moment, the police arrived. What is going on? Who called the police? I raised my hand. Officer, I am being publicly assaulted by my father and subjected to slander and humiliation. I demand legal action. My father, finally regaining his senses, attempted to downplay the situation. It's a family matter. After the police officer heard the entire account, we were taken to review the hotel surveillance. The footage revealed me leaving early each morning and returning late at night, always alone. The claim made by my father's colleague of me embracing a man was utterly unfounded. The surveillance room was filled only with the mechanical hum of the equipment. My father stood stiffly beside me, silent. Meanwhile, my mother and Lin Mo finally removed their masks. Lin Mo, with passionate indignation, exclaimed, "Sister, I always knew you wouldn't do such a thing. We need to take action against that colleague of Dad's." Her fervor seemed to transform her into a steadfast ally, a stark contrast to her earlier indifference. My mother approached me, her demeanor a mix of anxiety and appeasement, tugging at my sleeve. "Xiao. Don't hold it against your father. He's been misled." I withdrew my arm impassively, turning to the police. "The person who defamed me should be detained, correct? And my father publicly assaulting me should also be subject to legal consequences, should it not?" After viewing the surveillance, my father finally broke his silence. "Lin Xiao, I am your father. It is my right to discipline you." Meeting his furious gaze for the first time without flinching, my voice was unexpectedly calm. "Did you consider I am your daughter when you publicly slandered me and assaulted me before so many witnesses?" His face reddened, but he was at a loss for words. Finally managing to grit out, "Yes, your wings have hardened and you dare to oppose your parents. Lin Xiao, you have the audacity to never return home. Your mother and I will simply consider you a wretched child." After that, he turned to my mother and Lin Mo, shouting, "Aren't you leaving yet? Are you waiting to be sent to jail?" Before departing, my mother cast a helpless glance at me, complaining, Xiao, you have quite the temper." Her words floated lightly, yet felt like a cold needle, piercing the last remaining soft corner of my heart. Even at this juncture, she believed it was my rebellious spirit that had caused this turmoil, rather than their unjust bias, fury, and slander. I watched as she hurried to catch up with my father, and Lin Mo threw me a reproachful glance. Throughout, they maintained their stance as the innocent parties. The police inquired if I wished to pursue the matter further. Without hesitation, I nodded. The following day, as I awaited my flight, a message from my mother suddenly appeared. Xiao, why did you check out? You child, your sister, and I specially packed wontons for you. Are you still working late? Shall your sister and I bring the wontons to you?" Emotionless, I deleted her messages. It wasn't until I arrived at my company that I realized I had been assigned abroad. As I prepared to board, my mother's calls flooded in, one after another. I ignored them all. Eventually, she began to text. "Lin Xiao, have you gone abroad? Did you not consider us as your family, making decisions without informing us? Fine, your father was right. You have become so independent that you no longer need your parents. Go ahead and venture forth. But don't come crying back to me and your father." I rolled my eyes, turning off my phone and leaning back in my seat. At that moment, General Jiang, seated beside me, remarked, "Sometimes, physical distance proves to be the most effective remedy for severing negative emotions, particularly when dealing with family members who habitually manipulate you through emotional ties." I looked at her in surprise. In the professional realm, General Jiang was synonymous with expertise and efficiency, rarely discussing personal matters. Not to mention the sheer audacity of expressing one's opinions so bluntly. She seemed to notice my astonishment, a faint smile curving her lips. There's no need for such surprise. Every woman who finds herself in this position has endured her share of struggles, be they in her career or within the confines of her family. They may perceive you as cold, ungrateful, and having spread your wings too wide. They cannot accept a version of you that is no longer under their control, soaring higher and farther than they ever envisioned. Your independence and defiance are the gravest affronts to their authority. At that moment, the airplane ascended gracefully into the sky. After a brief roar, General Jiang's voice resonated again. "Lin Xiao, if they cannot offer you support, at the very least, teach them to respect your boundaries. Tears and pleas will not yield genuine respect, strength and distance will." I leaned back in my seat, gazing out at the diminishing cityscape. A sudden wave of unease evaporated entirely. Indeed, I was not fleeing. I was moving forward. As for the cacophony behind me, it would fade into silence once I soared high and far enough. My connection to home ceased the day I landed abroad. My father sent a voice message, berating me harshly. In the end, he blocked me. I felt no anger, no sadness, not even a tinge of disappointment. I simply exhaled with a smile of relief. The pace of work in a foreign land is astonishingly swift. The intense pressure of projects consumed nearly all my time and energy. I scarcely had the leisure to digest past wounds, nor did I have time to lament perceived biases. Over a year abroad, I received 2 promotions and my salary doubled. I was thriving, better than I had ever anticipated. Yet, I was unprepared for the disruption that awaited me one evening, heralded by a call from a domestic number. On the other end, my mother's voice trembled with tears. "Xiao Xiao, your father's fallen and is in the hospital. You must book a flight home immediately." I was preparing for an international video conference, and in response, I simply organized my materials while asking, "Oh, is it serious? What should we do?" My mother seemed taken aback by my nonchalant tone. After a brief pause, her voice shot up. "Lin Xiao, what should we do? You ask me what to do? I am your mother. He is your father. He lies in the hospital, possibly on the brink of death. How can you speak to me like this?" Her shrill shout pierced through the receiver. Taking a deep breath, I set my materials aside and walked towards the break room. Distant waters cannot quench nearby fires. What purpose does it serve for you to vent your anger on me now? And what significance does your crying and shouting hold? If tears were effective, I could gather all my colleagues to weep alongside you. Lin Mo seized the phone, her voice hitching. "Sister, please come back quickly. Dad's condition is really bad. It seems he has lost a lot of blood." I glanced at my watch and calmly replied, "All right, I need to attend a meeting now. Please update me via WeChat with any results." In the final second before hanging up, my mother's anguished curses echoed in my ear. I scoffed at the irony. When I had cried about my overwhelming stress, expressing that I felt depressed, they had merely dismissed me, suggesting that if tears could help, they could assemble a truckload of people to cry with me. They urged me to be sensible, to refrain from sulking and seeking pity, to maintain a facade of dignity without tears. But now, the tables had turned. They wept and shouted, their dignity shattered. That night, after a long absence of communication, Lin Mo sent me a message. "Sister, Dad is fine. He just has a slight concussion and will be discharged after a couple of days of observation." I glanced at the message, but chose not to respond. Minutes later, another message popped up. "Sister, you've changed so much. Sister, will you come back? Actually, we all miss you." I looked at the last line and couldn't suppress a sardonic smile. Miss me? They must be yearning for the obedient, diligent Lin Xiao, who craved their affection. I picked up my phone, hovered my finger over the conversation for a few seconds, and ultimately chose to delete it. After that day, Lin Mo, perceptibly, ceased to message me. It wasn't until after the new year when I briefly returned home for work duties that she waited for me downstairs at my company. Upon seeing me, she smiled shyly, her eyes pleading, "Sister, can we talk for a moment?" I silently regarded the sister I had not seen for 3 years. She had matured, yet her face bore the unmistakable signs of fatigue and weariness. She awkwardly touched her face. "Have I changed a lot? I've been working overtime nonstop. It's driving me nearly mad." As she spoke, her eyes glistened with tears. "Sister, were you this exhausted back then? You work harder than I did. You come home after I've already gone to bed. And yet, you still have to return home to do chores and care for me." I had no intention of delving into the distant, murky past with her, so I interjected, "So, what is it that you want from me?" She lowered her gaze and withdrew a card from her bag, extending it towards me. "This card currently holds 130,000. But rest assured, I'm earning now. And I will deposit money into this account each month. Sister, I'm sorry, I know our parents favor me, but I've chosen to turn a blind eye." I glanced at the bank card without accepting it. "Has something happened at home?" Lin Mo smiled, yet tears streamed down her cheeks. "Sister, must it always be that something has gone awry at home for me to seek you out? Have you forgotten? I am your invincible little superhero." I was momentarily taken aback, watching as she pressed the card into my hand and dashed away. Your invincible little superhero. That phrase was often uttered by Lin Mo during her rebellious teenage years. She would puff up her cheeks, declaring our parents' unfairness, and then argue on my behalf. Even then, with tears welling in my eyes, I felt nothing but joy for this sister standing before me. I believed the greatest gift in our family was my sister. We were siblings. We were each other's support. We would uplift one another. But as time passed, Lin Mo grew up. She forgot her own words. The little superhero in my heart had long since faded from my memory. While our parents' favoritism was undoubtedly the root cause, it was Lin Mo's choice to bury her head in the sand and play the victim that truly wounded me. I had no idea why she suddenly turned around to apologize. Yet, I knew I could never forgive the sister I once cherished most. I mailed the card back home. The day Lin Mo received the package happened to be the same day I was returning. Her lengthy voice message was filled with sobs. Then she asked, "Sister, you want to come back, will you? You don't want us anymore, do you?" On the day my overseas assignment concluded, General Jiang presented me with a transfer letter. I stared at the letter, momentarily lost in thought. She teased me, "What's wrong? Ready to give up?" I joyfully pressed the transfer letter to my heart. This was the employment notification from the company headquarters, the most significant achievement I had garnered through years of hard work. General Jiang stood up, approached me, and adjusted my shirt collar. "Xiao Xiao, your journey is still long ahead. Embrace the splendid life that awaits you. It will be extraordinary." I nodded enthusiastically, and after a moment of confusion, I asked General Jiang, "Why did you choose me among so many competitors, Mr.?" Jiang pondered for a few moments before breaking into a smile. "Well, perhaps it's because I've never encountered a young lady who weeps while laboring away, enduring for 5 long years." My cheeks flushed instantly. Under pressure, I often succumbed to tears, frequently finding myself in the dead of night, revising my PowerPoint presentations while wiping my eyes. Once Mr. Jiang had his fill of laughter, he solemnly patted my shoulder. "Lin Xiao, you are inherently exceptional. Do not squander your own potential. Do not squander yourself." Later, when I returned to my homeland to apply for a work visa to the United States, Lin Mo echoed this sentiment. She was still weeping uncontrollably, yet her eyes shone brightly. "Sister, you must take flight. I will keep an eye on our parents. Remember to treat yourself kindly in the future. Never forsake yourself for the sake of others." For the first time, I was curious as to how she was so well informed about my whereabouts. She let out a hearty laugh, momentarily resembling the mischievous younger sister from years past. "I have an excellent rapport with the Human Resources Department at your company. You know me. When I wish to cultivate a relationship with someone,
It is as easy as pie."
I fell silent for a while, allowing a smile to escape my lips. As I brushed past her, I hesitated for a few seconds and said to Lin Mo, who was desperately suppressing her tears, "Take care of yourself." As the words left my lips, I felt a gentle tug on my sleeve. But soon, that slight pressure released. I did not pause or acknowledge her sobs. I simply continued onward. The sun outside shone brilliantly, causing me to squint slightly. Yet, I knew that the world awaiting me beyond was boundlessly expansive. This was indeed wonderful. The end of the text. Thank you for listening, and we shall meet again in the next story.